Oh, is it? Yeah, it's nice and warm in there. We'll just go meet in the bathroom. There you go. Once you start things getting hot.
Okay, it's 6:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. TJ, will you please perform roll call?
Mrs. Best.
Present.
Mrs. Davis.
Present.
Mrs. Epling-Skinner.
Yes.
Ms. Harless.
Present.
Mrs. Hudson.
Present.
All right, well, welcome to our business meeting / work session. I am Kelly Davis. I will go around, and this is different setting, so we'll go around and introduce. I'll start with TJ here, our treasurer, TJ Cusick, board member Jennifer Best, board member Amber Epling-Skinner, Superintendent Dr. Trent Bowers, and joining us here is Assistant Superintendent Angie Adrian and Assistant Superintendent Jeff Maddox, board member Stephanie Harless, and board member Nikki Hudson. If you're able, if you stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, may I please have a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
So moved. Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any changes or questions? Okay, TJ, will you please call for the vote?
Mrs. Best.
Yes.
Mrs. Davis.
Yes,
Mrs. Epling-Skinner.
Yes.
Ms. Harless.
Yes.
Mrs. Hudson.
Yes.
motion carries. That brings us to public comment. B1. Under the Ohio Revised Code, it provides for the Board of Education to hold a public meeting on the proposed reemployment of a school employee to the same position upon retirement. On January 3rd and 9th, 2025, the board gave notice of the possible reemployment of Angie Adrian, Assistant Superintendent, Tim Gehring, Director of Facilities, and Kelly Wegley, Director of Academic Achievement and Professional Learning, and of the public meeting on that issue on this date. Now the board will hear any comments from anyone who wishes to address the board on this particular issue. My understanding that there are no comments. So hearing no comments, state law prohibits the board from taking action on this matter for at least 15 days. Therefore, this board will take this matter under advisement and will take action on the issue at its meeting on March 10th, 2025. Okay? Good? All right. I understand that we do not have any visitor comments, so I'm going to move on to actions recommended by the treasurer, TJ.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend that the board approve the minutes from the January 27th meeting as presented in enclosure C1, please.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, TJ, will you please call for the vote?
Mrs. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Epling-Skinner.
Yes.
Ms. Harless.
Yes.
Mrs. Hudson.
Yes.
Mrs. Best.
Yes.
Motion carries. Our next agenda item is personnel consent agenda. Dr. Bowers.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda. That's items D2 through D8. Items D2 through D8, please.
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions about the consent agenda? Okay, TJ, will you please call for the vote?
Mrs. Epling-Skinner.
Yes.
Ms. Harless.
Yes.
Mrs. Hudson.
Yes.
Mrs. Best.
Yes.
Mrs. Davis.
Yes. Motion carries. All right, the bulk of our meeting tonight will be our work session. So under information and proposals, we will begin our work session now portion. Oops, uh-oh. I know that we are supposed to be continuing our conversation about goals. And there was also the item of talking about our new safety committee. So, Dr. Bowers, do you want to start with that? And then we can dive into the goals portion. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. So I did try to level set just kind of in an email today. This is not something I had thought deeply about. I felt like safety deserved its own superintendent committee where we would brief the board a couple times a year, make sure the board has visibility to the different things that are going on in the school district. It has the ability to ask questions. I saw it like communications, facilities, academic achievement, the other committees that we have, and just felt like that was something that would make sense. So that's honestly about as deep as I was on the whole conversation. So I'm certainly, open to have conversation about that. If we want to take it in a different direction, if we don't want to do a safety committee, whatever the board desires on that.
I'll just chime in to say I'm very comfortable with it. I just didn't understand where it was coming from and what the objective was. I didn't know if it was proposed to be a board committee or a superintendent committee, so that helps clarify that for me. And it is nice to have a short of a presentation every single year, to have a set time when we know that via our representatives on the committee will then come back to the board holistically and share any updates in that space. I feel like you and your team do a great job of keeping us up to date, but I definitely don't have any objection to it. So I appreciate the additional information.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions or feedback?
Just that I think I appreciate having the ability for all of us to answer those questions, like you said, because we get them, I think. And so having that line of sight will be good. And I think probably we still want to have a presentation as well, but having that ongoing feedback is good. But the presentation for the community at large is good as well. So both.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. We don't always have it every single year. Yeah. And so that if there's a period of time where it goes more than a year or whatever, we'll at least know we've got that chain of communication, like you said, to be best positioned to answer questions or share any concerns that may have come up. Not that we'll wait for that. We'll obviously tee it up right away, but excellent. Thank you.
Jennifer or Amber, you guys have any input or?
No, I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have any questions or feedback. Thanks.
I think too, just in looking at our goals that we're getting ready to go over, safety was one of them. So I think it works well to be able to collaborate in that way. So thank you for offering that to us and putting that together. And we'll work with Jeff.
Good say.
and we'll work with Jeff, who has already sent an email.
Jeff,
Yeah.
digging into that.
So we'll get the meeting scheduled. Okay. All right. Now we're moving on to the goals portion. Nikki sent us some notes from our previous meeting. Did you have something additional to add to that? Were you in a wordsmith? This was back in September, if you guys remember that. It's been a while. So I couldn't remember if you were wordsmithing some things or if that's what we're doing.
No,
you're bringing some suggestions.
That's where we were. This is
Okay.
the draft as of the end of, I opened up the handbook, sorry. This is the draft as of the end of our last meeting, and there wasn't anything sorry, I've got to pull up the document myself.
You're fine.
But no, there wasn't anything in particular that was next, other than continuing to just refine the document itself.
Okay.
All right, let me
Excuse me. So we can go through this document. Hopefully you've all had time to review it. It's so interesting how things change even just in a couple of months. Things that I know that I've added some things to the list and taken some things off that we've already addressed, which is great. So look at us. We've, reached some goals. And But I think we talked about, not I think, on this document, we talked about having an overarching statement about why are we doing this, just to have an explanation for us to understand, for our administration to understand, and for obviously our school community to understand. So we can kind of wordsmith that a little bit as we talk about each section. There's 6 items here, so fiscal responsibility, equity and student opportunities, safety, advocacy and legislation, policy, and communication/community engagement. So if we want to start with fiscal responsibility,
Kelly, can I
absolutely.
say one thing?
Yes.
So I can orient my thinking. I do want to go through all these, but beyond just having that kind of overarching statement, is our goal today to have some goals? Do we want to come out with this, with some ideas of things that we as a board want to work towards in 2025 or multiple years or whatever? Is that something we're also looking at? Not that we would have one for each of these necessarily, but.
So I think just to that exact point, as I was thinking about it, just me, if there are going to be some items in which there are specific things that are going to rise to the level of let's work on this now, I'm thinking, and then there are going to be some where we may not know right now.
Yeah.
But just to have like a solidified definition of what each goal area is. What did we call it? We called it something different. It wasn't goals.
Priorities?
Yes,
Yeah.
it says that.
You're good.
At the
You're
top.
totally good. You're totally good. And let me just preface to say, if goals coming out of this, maybe you said things that we would be working on now. I don't know. And perhaps teeing up as a greater priority for the administration in the coming set of administrative goals. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right. Because I
Okay.
think if even as we talk about this first one, we've started to talk about that and that's kind of underway. So,
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
what was the time frame we were thinking with this?
I don't think we had a time frame.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think,
I was thinking that we said we wanted it by something, but I don't.
Oh, you mean when we wanted to finalize this?
Oh.
I think definitely before the administration, I thought we had said definitely before the administration starts to work on their next set
That's
of
what it
goals
was.
for the next academic year.
Which is
So that Trent, we review them during the summer, but that doesn't mean you start working on them on the summer, so
No,
maybe.
you're
we
you're
need
correct.
some-
So, I would, if we could have something by May 1st,
Great.
we'll take the month of May to kind of pull everything together that we've done this year and begin looking at goals for next year. And then I think we have a date on the calendar, I don't have it in front of me, but that first week of June, I think we have that we adopted as a time to review last year's goals and look to set next year's goals.
Yeah.
I
And
would
then
think,
sorry.
Trent.
No, go ahead.
I would think we would want something fairly directional coming out of tonight, since this is our working session, that we could then fine tune. But my guess is we want to at least know kind of where we're headed.
I would hope that we could do that, just because I felt like we made a lot of
got it
progress
good.
last time. And so, yes, that by the end of tonight, yes, I would hope so.
So are you good with going by each category, or do you have an idea of doing it differently? I don't have an objection to.
Each category.
Okay.
Yeah, can we step back just for one
Sure.
second though? Because when I'm looking at the categories, I feel like there's a little bit of overlap. And I wonder if the type, maybe I'm just getting hung up on semantics here, but like advocacy and legislation and then policy being two separate, like I understand sort of the difference in that, but I don't know if there's a better way to say those. And even if we want to say advocacy and legislation and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we have the right headlines, I guess.
Gotcha.
Is what I'm kind of like. I think fiscal responsibility is good. I've spent a lot of time today sort of looking at other school boards and sort of what they have. So I think that's what I'm comparing ours to. We also don't have anything in ours that other schools had, other districts had about like college and career readiness or quality instruction or something about instructional. And I know that that's, maybe not so much the board, and maybe that's why we didn't do it. I remember talking about it. Maybe that's the policy piece. Student growth was on a lot of the list that I looked at, and that's not even, that's not really mentioned here. And then staff isn't really mentioned here either. So I don't know. These were just some of the observations I had in mind. Not that I want to say let's throw everything out and start from the drawing board. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying I think as I think of going through the process, I think maybe if we could zero in on the top, 5 or 6 things, and then we can go more on
Bullet point.
right,
Yeah.
the bullet points.
So when you say staff, we only have 2 staff,
Right.
right? So I would be hesitant to dive into staff necessarily,
Yeah.
because that's not our role. But academic achievement is that, and I think that's webbed throughout this, but if you want to pull it out, we can talk about that too, for sure. You said growth too was a good one.
Student growth.
Student
was another
growth.
one that was
Okay.
a lot of these.
I feel like goes with academic achievement, right?
Yeah. And quality
Tell me if
instruction.
anyone
I
feels
think it goes
differently.
hand in hand. They would be in the same bucket.
Bucket.
I think if we think about these, to Nikki's point, as complementary to superintendent goals, that we probably get those buckets. And I'm not saying we don't word it differently, but I think we cover it in kind of putting them hand in hand. I was feeling like we had, when we met last year, that academics was well represented and covered in, obviously their goals, right? Because that's their job. But then I felt like we didn't have things that were articulated for just specifically the board. And I think that's kind of why we landed here. But I say that just to kind of provide context, not to say that we shouldn't change what we have by any stretch. I'm not married to this at all.
Okay.
I think that we could say that there are areas that we feel like are solid and don't that the board's goals could fluctuate over time.
Certainly.
Right? And if we feel like we're not to say that these areas are not solid, but these are areas that we have identified where we have a more active role versus academic achievement, where we feel like the district's in a solid position and we currently don't have an active role, but for, reviewing things like Portrait of a Learner and things like that when it comes to when it's presented to us. I don't know.
I guess my thought with the academic and talking about instruction, I understand it's not directly in our purview, but indirectly, right? We employ a superintendent who employs this assistant, on down. I guess, does the community know when they see, whatever graphic or, visual representation that we end up creating of these goals? Do they see that it's lacking anything about, a mention of students, a mention of instruction, a mention of academics, and do they understand that? I guess is maybe more where my head was when I was thinking about things that were missing. I was thinking more of that visualization, not so much the bullets.
Yeah.
So it could be in
fair.
that overarching, why are we doing this? That could be where that student achievement statement is a focus, and then it's woven all throughout these goals. Because some of these goals, not some of these goals, but one part of the listing of the goals talks about our role and our responsibility and action in that. And when it comes to specific, obviously we approve curriculum and things like that, but when it comes to the day-to-day academics, I don't necessarily know that we're taking any action on that. I don't know, just a suggestion.
I definitely think we should have it represented in words in some way, and whatever that ultimately is, so that it looks comprehensive. And whether that's we support our amazing team. The flip side of that is I don't want us to be portrayed as having any sort of control over curriculum, because we shouldn't. We're, you know what I mean? We don't all have the background. So, but I agree that we don't want to come across as being not student-centered, right? We don't want that.
So may I make a suggestion that we go through what we have with that in mind? So of the ones that you listed, I wrote down academic achievement / student growth. Were there any other ones that anyone else was like, ooh, should we have that? Do we have it sufficiently covered? What were the other ones that you
I can
listed,
read them.
Amber?
Yeah, so, high quality staff, college / career readiness, which I think we have another way of saying that. What do we say? We say like, because we include military in there too, at our over. But student growth, quality instruction, safe and supportive schools, which we already have safety, so I just thought that was maybe a better way of saying that. And then building partnerships. I liked partnerships better than community engagement, because to me, engagement is, it's just kind of, partnerships says that we're actually building something. You know, engagement's just a conversation. It's a further iteration of engagement, and I think that's what we want to do. Not only with community, but with families, with all the
stakeholders.
Right.
Sorry.
So that's why I like that one. So those were just some of the ones I found.
Okay, I think that's great. And so let's keep those, I wrote those down just to personally keep those in mind as we're going through this so that we can help identify if there's a place where we feel like it's woven into, where we should state it more explicitly. Does that sound okay? Versus
I like
pulling it
that.
out as a separate, and if we need to pull it out, then we'll do so.
I mean, fiscal responsibility, I think that's a solid one. I don't know how else to say that, what better way to say that. That was on across the board, pretty much every school district I found had that as one of theirs, so I think that's a good one. Start there, I don't know.
No, thank you. That was great. So do you want to, is everyone okay with starting with fiscal responsibility? Okay. So I think I'm going to look at what, Nikki, you sent to us. So we talked about the why being ensuring that, is that ensuring that all public education has to offer?
Should be.
Okay. Is accessible to all, minimize, no, it's okay.
Hands down.
Go for it. Go for it.
Minimize barriers to access, and that we do so in a manner that is supported by the community and takes into account the bigger picture. So I looked at some of these and just to kind of make it more concise. I did look at some other districts too, and just how they had different categories, and that each category had like a sentence or two that kind of just gave a synopsis. So I liked making responsible financial decisions to keep education accessible, that aligns with community priorities and supports long-term stability. I don't know if you want to add to that.
You added some good terms to that. I mean, when I think of this, it's always being good stewards of public funds. To me, that should be first. We're good stewards of public funds while we're ensuring quality education and, what'd you say, pursuing our long-term goals. or,
Long-term stability.
Yeah, stability, I
But-
think is an important word too.
Yeah, that was a good word, but the good stewards of public funds that comes first to mind with this one.
And that touches everything. That touches, our frequency at going to the ballot. That touches how we're allocating funds, like that one sentence with just a few words covers a lot. And I think that's what you want to be here, is very pithy.
And I feel like that language is on our descriptor of the board. I'm gonna just search here really quickly, because if I can find it, I'll just pull it in, you guys, versus rewording.
That's always
on what the
good.
board does. Yeah.
Are you
Just
typing in that,
rereading.
sorry, are you typing in that document that you shared with us?
I'm not.
I am. I will stop. Somebody is.
Yeah, Stephanie is.
But we can, because we're here, right?
Yeah, we can. And you can also we can create a
I'll just-
version 2.0 if we
Okay.
want to. I don't care.
I'll just save a new one, or I'll just stop typing.
No, I think someone needs to be
It's-
typing.
Yeah.
So If you save a new one, just add us all to it and that's sitting here and we can watch.
Or if you want to just, control all and then copy and paste it down at the bottom and then
Version 2.0 in the
that
same
way,
one.
yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
same document, but if we needed to go back to the previous
Okay,
version.
that
it's-
makes more
it's down
sense
at
because
the
then we don't have a
bottom.
different
Very
link.
easier.
That way you don't have to save and send to all of us.
Do you want me to hit undo on the changes couple changes that I
I
made?
don't think that's a huge deal.
Yeah, they're good changes.
All right, well, maybe I'm just making it up. I don't find it, but I could swear it was on the site
I like the
historically.
word stability a lot and using that somehow in something. So we're good stewards to the public's funds. Or maybe we should say we will be, we are, I don't know, R is fine. We ensure to maintain, I don't know, fiscal stability throughout, through our actions and, I don't know.
Kelly, read the sentence you had again. When we started, you read a sentence.
It's okay. The sentence that I just read.
Yes.
Make responsible financial decisions that keep education accessible, aligned with community priorities, and support long-term stability.
Long-term stability.
Yes. Yeah, I like that.
Because it's not about the decisions we make today, it's about the decisions and how they affect the future.
So would we add that to the sentence that by doing so, we ensure quality public education is accessible to all, comma, make, could you add that sentence in there and then we can just tweak it? Okay.
I think that'd be good.
And when we're thinking of the visualization, because I keep going back to that, like what does the community, they're not going to more than likely read all of the bullet points here, some of them might, but they'll see the visualization. I think fiscal responsibility being on there is a big deal.
And I think that what you are putting in there essentially addresses, the only thing that I think is not, addresses that last sentence we have in there right now. So that sentence that you created talks about the fact that it's supported by the community because it takes into account community priorities or however you stated it. And then it takes into account the bigger picture as well, because that's the long-term sustainability. So really then that just leaves us with minimizing barriers to access. And we can ensure that that's woven into the sentence after.
So I think, Kelly just put it in there, and I think we can say,
Oh, I gotta go down.
we are
Okay.
good stewards to the public's funds. By doing so, we ensure quality public education is accessible to all. We minimize barriers to access and make responsible financial decisions that keep education accessible, align with community priorities, and support long-term stability.
We're saying accessible twice.
Okay, let me take out a couple
I wonder
sentences
if
and
we
then
can
let's
take
fix
the
that.
second sentence out. Do we need that second sentence? We are good stewards of public funds. We minimize barriers to access.
I don't need it, I don't think we need it stated that way, but I would like to have quality public education in there
Okay.
and minimizing barriers to access in some way.
Okay.
But yeah, not
It doesn't have to
twice
be,
for the same.
no,
Right.
just
Yeah.
those two things I think are table stakes.
So that's taking you, so then for that sentence I just added, you just take out, make responsible financial decisions that keep education accessible? Because the parts
we
that you
can,
talked about at the top.
I think that's okay. I think we can take,
You're saying minimize
Well, we could,
barriers to access is the
I
same
know.
thing.
we
No, I know.
can, financial decisions that keep quality public education accessible, because then
Yep.
we're not duplicating that second sentence
Yep.
and we can delete
Yep.
that second sentence.
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, and the third sentence.
Yes.
And I think we can take out we do so in a manner sentence as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so then we're down to, we're good stewards to the public funds. We make
To or of? We're good stewards
of,
public funds.
okay.
Yeah.
We are good stewards of the public's funds. We make responsible financial decisions that keep quality public education accessible, align with community priorities, and support long-term stability.
Okay, I like it.
Yay.
One thing that, and I don't know if we want to include this, but one of the sentences in one of the other school districts said, while minimizing taxpayer impact. I don't know if we want to add that on to the last sentence or not. Maybe that's too wordy.
I think
That's
that's
good.
I think that's what the good stewards of public
That's
funds
already said
captures. Yeah,
I like it.
great.
Short, concise.
How?
Are we gonna put, I think, was that for us or was that gonna be, I feel like that was more for us.
I think that's a more for us thing, just because that is changing, like, it would mean how often would we want to come in and change that document? I don't know. I mean, I think we need to be clear about what our actions are so it doesn't bleed into what the administration is doing, right? Making sure that we're staying very high level. It's just something to think about. I mean, obviously, the point of this is to know fundamentally, like foundational, right? What are we looking to do here in this district? And also attach it to action items.
Because two of these things that are on here, we've done,
Right,
which is good.
right.
And so maybe there isn't something that concrete for this year, but it becomes more of just ensuring that we make decisions that allow us to stay off the ballot until 2028, that if it's within our control.
Which I look at that as being supportive of the superintendent's responsible staffing.
Correct. Yeah.
Because once decisions start being made, we're gonna end up getting pushback.
Sure.
And we need to be ready for that and aligned that we're gonna support that.
So I did add staying off the ballot till 28, and the 2.25 mils.
Good, thank you. Yeah.
I mean, I wrote that down in my notes.
Yeah, let's put that on here.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah,
That's
'cause we've
something
got
I
it.
want to,
Concrete goal on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, stay off the ballot till 2028.
right, and Trent has mentioned that in key communicators. I mean, so
Yeah.
it's not like, I mean, that's something that's being communicated. And something we need to work towards. So as we're looking at the responsible staffing plan and wondering, you know, as Trent makes that presentation and people are saying, well, why are you not limiting, but like, why did you make this decision about staffing in this way? Well, because the board has a goal of
2.5 mils a year.
2.5 mils
Yep.
a year, and you guys are gonna want that.
are you down with us now?
I am down.
I was asking TJ
Oh,
if he was
sorry.
sorry. No, I apologize.
Oh, you're
I just, go in and articulate it the way we should. Yes, thank you. 2.25, yeah. I was like,
2.25, I said 2.5, didn't I? 2.25.
Okay, yeah.
2.25 for the
Mills.
record.
Does it make sense just at the beginning of that, how our goals, actions that we state, we accomplish this goal by engaging with the district during our standard board meetings, finance committee, TAC committee, as well as I'm just trying to make that a full sentence versus a bunch of, okay, I'll attempt to finalize that. You guys can.
I think I'm
Tweak
gonna
it.
add in here just for this one. So we don't these are not necessarily annual evaluation, these are goals. And then I'm gonna say kindergarten fees complete. I mean, that goal is complete. And the pay to, I read this, the last one is school fees not pay to play, so that is something that we can discuss. So let me move this up.
Maybe we just say, eliminate fees where possible or something. Well, I guess if we're saying we achieved it, yeah, you want to go step by step and have those in there.
I don't like Google Docs.
When you don't, I don't work in it on a regular basis either, and I have the same feeling.
I want my desktop app. I'm old. I want my desktop app, not my browser. Okay.
I wonder if as we achieve goals, like, so the kindergarten fees, right, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if when we do list them out, if there's could be some kind of link to, I don't know, Dr. Bauer's blog post, for example, that highlights that
I like that.
when we collectively achieve those goals.
We could publish our own mailer. I'm kidding.
Oh, gosh. I'm so grateful that I'm kidding came out after that.
So quickly, thank you.
At first, I thought you were going to say blog, and I was going to be like,
Oh God, no.
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 So Jennifer, do you feel like the responsible staffing plan needs to be listed under these goals, or as in supportive of that? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, so I don't think it does. Only because everything ties to the 5-year forecast.
Okay.
So your approval of the 5-year forecast is critical in, those two things go together, right? As does when you talk about fees, right? Like, and any fee discussion really is in that 5-year forecast, because every piece of revenue or every spending decision that we make then impacts what level, when we go to the ballot, at what level. So I have been communicating, and again, I'll present publicly on the 24th after we do CKLA. But I have been saying we want to stay off the ballot till 2028. The board's made that a shared goal, but we also want to make sure that we're spending or taxing at 2.25 mils, not 3 mils.
Right.
And I will tell you, I think that resonates with people. I think people understand it, and it's super helpful for us to say the board has said, this is important. But Jennifer's correct. We are going to all need that because, individually, everybody has a priority of something, and it makes total sense.
Absolutely.
Like, in a vacuum, it's just every one of those things adds up. And one of the things that we talked about with elementary school principals last week was we're going to have to start shifting more staff than we have in the last 10 years, because when you grow, things get tight. So we've had more kids in classes. So we heard a lot of class size challenges because we were trying to keep kids in their home school. So we had more kids in each school and more kids in each class. But what happens is when that happens, staff stay really stable, because at that school you need every staff member. We've had 2 small kindergarten classes in a row. We think that'll continue because of the housing market. Well, I think that's more of an external than a school thing. But that means our elementary schools are slowly going to get smaller as our middle schools and high school grow. But that means there are going to be more places where teachers at elementary schools have to go from one school to another to where the kids are, or share schools. We did that for decades in Worthington, but we haven't done it in the last decade. And so it becomes, wait, like, this is my school.
Right.
And everybody's good with it, except they start advocating for their friend or their favorite.
My sister was the worst. I know you're laughing.
No, everybody is. We all fall into that. So Jennifer's right. But we're also tying, what you'll hear from me is that we're going to tie staffing to enrollment. So I think there's a correlation that makes a lot of sense. And we've added a lot of staff members over the last 4 years, but we haven't added a lot of kids. I think that was the right move at the right time based on the needs of kids coming out of the pandemic and the challenges that kids faced. But now as we look forward, we really need to say our staffing needs to make sure it's in line with where our enrollment is. And what you'll see in that plan is our enrollment is really projected to be flat for the next 5 years.
Right.
Which means we think our staffing should be. Now, in the forecast right now, we have a few more staff built in. So we haven't shifted that forecast yet. But those are those places where those things align, and then you have in one place really everything you're talking about. Because then you can also evaluate, well, what did it mean when we made kindergarten free, right? Like we believe in that, but what did that do to the forecast? And so.
I think that's why we listed this one first too, because every other goal almost maps into this, right? Like it's the overarching
Yeah.
It does.
sense.
I think it's important, when we talk about alignment on levy frequency and size, when we talk about a cycle, right? We can't just think about staying off the ballot until a certain time, because we can stay off the ballot until 30 or 31. That just puts us in a bad position because we're always thinking about the next time. So I feel like when we say alignment on levy frequency and size, we may want to think about saying minimum of a 4-year cycle. Now, I don't want to pigeonhole us into that, but at the same time, when we go to determine what size levy we need in 28, a lot of that depends on where we want to be in 31 or 32 and where we want to leave ourselves. So I think we should attempt to say something to the effect of, a 4-year cycle seems to have been our sweet spot, and an average of 2.25 mils as guideposts, because we always want to think about that next levy.
And that makes me think that alignment on levy frequency or whatever that becomes gets pulled up as almost as the how or something like that, because that's a forever goal. And then our short to medium term goal becomes that, like, just right now, our goal as a board is to stay off the levy till 2028, because that's what we have stated publicly, and keep it to 2.25 mil as a discrete thing. But the higher our overarching one is that.
We've always talked internally about reasonable levies at reasonable intervals. That's always been kind of our motto. That's kind of morphed into a 4-year cycle. So when I sit down and look at everything long term, I'm trying to figure out what do we need to do today to be able to stay in that cycle, right? And it's hard. It's hard because in the school world, you can't think of the next levy.
Right.
You're really worried about this one coming up. But I think we've been in a fortunate position because we've had that longer mindset. And so I feel like we need to articulate that to some degree in this.
Got that, Stephanie? You're typing.
Is it an overarching, is it defined as like an overarching goal?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to call it yet,
Okay.
but aligned on
But you could just call it reasonable levies at reasonable intervals. Currently, we take that to mean we're trying to do a 4-year cycle.
Yeah, the challenge with that, T, is when reasonable levies or reasonable intervals was coined, we were in a 3-year cycle at 6.9 mils.
Whew.
And so it's just interesting because I'm not sure that people would hear 3 years at 6.9 as reasonable and reasonable intervals. But that's what, I mean, that's what the board felt like was reasonable. We've felt like a 4-year cycle makes more sense. But our 8.9 over 4 years is actually a little less than the 6.9 was over 3 years on a cycle standpoint. So I like that phrase reasonable, but I also feel like there's so much interpretation there that you might want to,
It's very
Yeah.
subjective.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's depending on the economy at the time, right? I mean, that's a big part of it.
I mean, we can state, there can be a caveat in that sentence to state merely that, understanding that varies over time. And so,
In circumstance, yeah.
and part of the key from a board standpoint and a district standpoint is ensuring that we're always communicating that with the community, right? And there's an alignment on that.
So is there like an assessment piece that we could throw in there? Because that's essentially what we're doing, right? When you're talking about reasonable, but we're assessing what is reasonable in 2025 versus what is reasonable in, so is there an assessment piece that comes with that, or is that what the 5-year, you would classify the
Yeah, that's,
5-year
I mean,
forecast is?
that's a hard question to ask. I mean, essentially we've assessed just through passing our last several levies is that reasonable amount seems to be 2.25 mils, right? Would we have approved a slightly higher levy? Who knows, right? But just based on what we've been able to accomplish, it seems to me, I think you can deduce that 2.25 mils is reasonable to this community on an annual average basis. So I don't know if I can answer that any more, but.
I guess I was just trying to think of a way to word it in that you're not just stuck, we're not defining it now, that it could change, it's fluid based on so many factors.
I put that in as an objective.
Okay.
And then the goal being the 2028. I don't know if that works, but, okay.
I feel like it does.
So I put, under objectives, I put ensure that levies occur at reasonable intervals and are of reasonable size, and align on collective bargaining agreement, because that's every 3 years. And then we could also include that next year as a goal because it will be up, but
Correct.
I moved those two up to objectives.
Okay.
Is there any harm in adding to the first objective and just being very clear that understanding that this may vary over time, so that's just very clear from a community-facing standpoint? What is considered to be a reasonable interval and a reasonable size right now is.
What if we said ensure that levies occur at reasonable intervals and are of reasonable size, dependent upon the climate of the time of the decision, or seeing there's something about timing.
Could we say something about community feedback or?
Yeah, I mean,
community-
you could say reasonableness is determined through finance committee, treasurer advisory committee, and community engagement.
I like that.
I like that too, because you do discuss that with your, definitely the TAC committee, right? That's where you're getting a pulse on.
Stack.
Yeah, I got it. I got you.
Sorry.
No, you're like, you see it a little later.
Oh yeah, TAC ahead or above. That's like saying the ATM machine, right? We need to take out committee. That C is committee. Maybe above, we actually make it spell out treasurer advisory committee and then put TAC and, yeah. So people know, someone
What that
reading
is.
this who doesn't know what TAC is, then does. Yet another acronym in our.
So many acronyms.
Up here, I'm gonna actually spell it out.
Yeah, I was gonna say quotation. And would it be reasonable is determined in collaboration with? Because it's not like those bodies, I mean, ultimately, we're determining it, right? It's.
Yeah.
It's not like
Tight.
TAC votes and finance committee votes, and,
Yep.
it's us.
I like that.
Maybe consultation then instead of collaboration.
I don't know, I like collaboration
Collaboration,
because
okay.
that's what we aim
Yeah.
to do.
Okay. So we have a goal,
Good work.
Which is actually completed. And then we have
and then we have
another
another goal
goal
that
that we're all
is
aligned on.
ongoing. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Look good, Jennifer. Okay. Making sure. All right, so I'm going to move on to equity, student opportunities, and it says student achievement equity.
I just put that in as a question mark after Amber's initial
Yep.
feedback. And if this doesn't go here, I'm fine. I just was jotting down so we didn't lose it.
So this very
This
much
is
talks
where-
about student achievement.
Mhm.
As we talked about closing gaps here. What else did I note? It might try to be concise, just expanding access. So I think it's very similar to what we put under fiscal responsibility about access, removing barriers, things like that.
I like relabeling. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Go ahead, Kelly.
No, keep going.
I like putting student achievement in the title of this. I think that is,
Growth or student achievement.
I'm amenable to either. I think that that is definitely, like you said, encompassed within this, and those are terms that resonate and with our community.
I like student achievement mainly because OSBA, when you look at what our responsibilities are, that is one of them. And we have a student achievement liaison, you know what I mean? So
I guess
just
my
kind of,
problem, it's not a problem with the word achievement. I just am thinking the opposite of achievement is failure. And if we're talking about growth, it's more of you can be talking about academic, emotional, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not articulating this well, but
We could say achievement / growth.
yeah. I mean, achievement's fine.
But you're saying
I'm
it's
just-
not
I'm trying
just
to-
academic, it's
bigger than that, right?
bigger, but I don't know what the right.
That's why I kind of like growth, because that made me think more of it's the whole student, right? We talk about that.
I think if we're careful about how we define it, because I agree. To me, though, achievement, from my perspective, goes outside the classroom, and it is the whole package. Like they have opportunity to do, whatever, define their path. And so if we define that correctly,
so then can you say student growth and achievement
I'm fine with that.
as opposed to academic? Because academic, that's not just that's to your point, that's not it, right? And so there are a lot of gaps that we're closing in accessibility that we're hoping to, be able to provide for students. So it's student as opposed to academic. Student growth and achievement.
Can we do student growth, achievement, and equity?
Yeah, and I will say AI tells me, did this intentionally. The student growth can also be described as academic progress, learning development, student achievement, student advancement.
Yeah, that's why
Improvement
I think
trajectory.
We can go, in the I don't know. I kind of like keeping these like the titles just 2 words. If we're gonna have fiscal responsibility, I don't know.
Student growth and achievement,
Or just
or student growth.
student growth, right? And then
Bullet
whatever.
points.
Yeah,
Or
just 2 words just to keep, and then the bullet points can talk about academic achievement or like the high quality, attracting high quality staff to the district, quality instruction, all that other stuff that we were talking about earlier. But
Yeah, I'm aligned with that. I mean, academic achievement is a part of student growth.
Right.
And as long as we use that phrase, I feel like, to accurately articulate within our why or how or
and
below.
providing equitable opportunities, that's part of the student growth piece too. I don't know.
I'm okay. I have no opinion. That's not true. I can't say it was.
None of us could keep a straight face either, so it's all good.
I am fine with growth achievement. I do feel fairly strongly about equity.
Yes,
Only
I do too.
because that's where I think this started, and I think all of us are pretty invested in making sure that there is equitable opportunity. So an opportunity doesn't need to be in there, but that one word I personally feel strongly about.
In the title or in the
title.
In the title.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can.
I'm just thinking the graphic is what I'm thinking. Like if we have a circle, how do we fit all those words in one little?
Student growth and equity
Pie.
isn't that long.
It isn't.
Okay.
If we take achievement out, that's
You
a
can
big.
use the ampersand.
Only if we use it everywhere.
I'm going to put an ampersand in there, and then I'll be the ampersand police.
Oh, if we mix them, it'll just make my little brain explode.
All right.
Good to know. Good to know.
So I do think I'm sorry. Go ahead. ahead, Kelly.
Go ahead.
I do think what we pulled from the DEI policy definitely hits the equity portion, but we might need something with regards to the student growth, academic achievement portion of it.
When I looked at this, I thought about the academic achievement. That's where I kind of fit this in. I just said something about making sure every student has opportunities for challenge and success.
Yes.
Something to pull that in.
Yep.
And something about, and I don't know how we phrase this, but something about like we meet them where they are. That's not the phrase I want. Did you? Look at you. I did. Just about like, because it looks different for every student, and we don't want to, yeah.
Yes. I did. I showed TJ. Meet students where they are. Because the support looks different.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I put it here. I have too many papers. Always. I need to do something about that. But where it's not all on us. So I like partnership. I can't remember who said that. Of that we're partnering and we're giving resources that sometimes are outside of our district because we can't do everything, right? And so connecting in that way. I don't know if that goes underneath here, but
So
does that work?
the verbiage that I found online that I pulled that I kind of liked, and obviously we could just lift this, but maybe we could lift some of it. Talking about the board will provide a holistic education comprised of extensive curricular and extracurricular experiences that empower each individual student to conquer challenges, develop talents, and discover passions while sustaining rigor and achieving evidence-based academic growth.
Well, I like
A
that.
mouthful, right? But I really like
I
how
like
they
that.
spelled that out. Because, one of the things, I sit on the board that talks about the extracurriculars, right? So that's part of what we do here, but also, talking about empowering. I like the word empower. Each individual student to conquer challenges, develop talents, discover passions. I like that discovery part of it too. But I also think that we could include attracting high quality staff. I know that's not necessarily specifically what the board does, but we do it sort of indirectly in the reputation of the district and what we're, putting out there, because attracting and the benefits and everything else, right? We're attracting the staff that's making the student success and growth and equity and accomplishment or whatever we want to call it possible. So I feel kind of strongly about putting something in here about high quality staff.
Do we want to, so I went back up and looked at how we wrote the fiscal responsibility one. And it is it's very rooted in what decisions we make. So I wonder if we start out the why or the, I don't know, something about we make decisions, I don't know how to say this, we make decisions that take into consideration the whole child and then weave in some of that language
The support and value.
to support, yeah, so that we are not doing all of these things,
Right.
but we make decisions that allow these things to happen.
What about
100%.
all decisions we make are with the students in mind, or something, some kind of they're our centerpiece, right? Everything that we do is in benefit of them.
Amber, are you able to pull, because I loved hearing that and seeing it
know, I'm
helps
a
as well.
visual too.
I was
Want me
just
to
going to
type
say,
it in there?
I was just going to say, can you type it in there so
Yeah.
that we can all see it? And then maybe we can make those tweaks with what you were saying at the beginning. Thank you. And then,
So
oh.
the one thing I did have a question about was, it says pull from DEI policy, and then there are bullet points underneath here. And I just couldn't remember, are the bullet points from the DEI policy? Okay, I see you're shaking your head. No.
No, I think just that one sentence and the
Okay.
why was from the policy. And Angie, I hope you'll jump in if you think that there's, please, like, that's why you guys are here. Like, if you think that there's something that we've articulated in a different space, whether it was a connection with the portrait of a learner that is similar to what we're talking about here. And so for consistency's sake, it would be better if we phrased it in a different way so that it's, pulling that same verbiage or anything along those lines, please say as much.
You can also kick us under the table. That's acceptable.
Guys, did you not realize?
I'm just trying to see if what Amber is typing kind
I'm
of
just putting right.
fills in those bullet points there.
Yes. These are these are a little bit more tangible than some of the stuff well, no, the second two are better. First one was a little bit. I want to find a more concrete way that gets at the sentiment of the first bullet that we had at the bottom, because I think it's important. I just don't know.
The first bullet.
The first,
The creating solutions.
creating solutions that level the playing field while concurrently raising the bar across all schools.
Okay.
It's very vague, but I really like the sentiment. So I would like to try to retain that, but in a way that is actionable.
Since we're in a work session, is anyone opposed to me walking in there and grabbing our chocolate?
Not at all.
We don't normally just get up from the table during a work session, but it is for the sake of chocolate, so.
So I don't love level the playing field.
No, and it's the sentiment that I like. So it's that equity piece
I was
again.
gonna
But
say,
yeah,
I mean, we could just say
Yeah.
what it is,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I guess I didn't that was the first bullet point that I was like, oh, I don't care for a level of playing field. And then concurrently raising the bar across all schools. And so I was trying to just remember back to our conversation and I couldn't.
I don't remember where
getting
that
to that.
came from. But when I think about when I think about student achievement and I think Amber had a word rigor. Yeah, sustaining rigor. That's to me, that's what that means, right?
I like
It's not
that.
making it unattainable, but it's
Right.
ensuring that we have expectations that allow our students to really excel.
Absolutely.
So the sustaining rigor probably gets to that.
There's some bars, if anyone has bars, and she's going to get Vicky's going to see if we have chocolates too.
So if I'm throwing out some
Yeah.
terms that we use in Portrait of a Learner, because this is where I feel like we do
Ooh, I
need
like
to
that.
have some verbiage in our goals and that mirrors what you all do. So we talk about critical thinking. We talk about an adaptable leader. We talk about resilient learner. Responsible collaborator, confident communicator, that's the high school. And then the middle school is solution seekers, global thinkers, resilient learners, which is also high school, and then kind, empathetic friends. And then elementary is leader, thinker,
Thinker,
friend.
leader, friend.
So just some words
In my house.
that I think should also appear in here.
Angie put a comment in here that has some language that's really good. I don't know if you guys can see it, like on the side.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, show more.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's not much different than what you said, just
Yeah, but if it's
organized a little different.
I like develop your talent. Amber said discover too, and discover has been kind of my word this year, and so I love that as well. I don't know, not that we need it, I just want to point out that I really like that word.
I like well-rounded education. I feel like people say that, that's a common, that people know what that means.
So what if we take that and just, instead of pursue their passions, discover and pursue their passions, or discover their passions or something?
Yeah, I like the discover.
That's
I don't know.
Well, I think that,
It's
no,
just
that's
the
fair, because we're
exploration
talking
of
about
it.
K-12, right? So,
Yeah.
well, and
No, I
even
think
at 12.
discover and pursue, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Angie.
I like evidence-based.
I do too.
Oh wait, that was in the original.
Okay. are we copying?
This is what happens when you don't eat dinner before you come to a board meeting.
I know.
I just wasn't hungry, but of course now I am.
All right, so do you want me to, are we gonna copy that? I don't wanna overwrite somebody.
You're good. Go for it.
All right, I'm doing it. Here we go. Okay, is that, I put it in here, does that
Oh my gosh,
replace-
that is the candy bowl.
Nothing's ever traveled.
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Trent, for sharing your candy.
Is the, where I pasted down here, okay, A, and B, does that take the place of the Y, the original Y?
Yes, I was just comparing it to, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna erase and, okay, another pet peeve I have is there's no delete, like the forward delete button on these computers. Sorry, I'll just, it's a thing.
Yes.
I have opinions about everything. I am gonna disagree with you right now. Well, that's not the Google Docs problem, that's the Pixelbooks problem. Okay, do we need to keep, okay, I'm gonna leave the bullets. I don't know if we need to address those somehow in the
Andy
how.
actually put something.
Oh.
She kind of, no, I appreciate that, because.
Just tell me to stop.
No, please, no.
This is why you're sitting here.
No.
Because I was just kind
Yeah.
of
And this is your area.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
sentence form.
Okay, so we're good, all right. Okay. I'll have to fix the font later, but I'll,
Did we just lose we lost your, go undo.
lose?
Because I think you inadvertently
Yeah,
deleted
you
her second
deleted her.
comment.
oh, I didn't
There it is.
delete the
You're
comment.
fine.
I just assumed you didn't like it.
Delete?
Okay, do you want that
Which is fine.
under?
I think those are,
Oh, I see. I wonder why that deleted.
I just put different bullets,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
recruiting
yeah,
and
yeah.
retaining high-quality staff instead of just attracting high-quality
I like
staff.
that.
We do this by,
Delivering quality instruction maybe instead of excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so is that the how?
preparing students for college, career, and future, we could say workforce. College, career, workforce, military.
yeah, that, I was gonna say, we say
Yeah.
something, but it's with the,
Yep.
there's alliteration there. It's,
Something in list, right?
Take five.
yeah, something. That's it. I like the alliteration.
Yeah.
I like that.
Are those bullets, do those go under the why or the how?
I just put them where you had them.
Yeah,
I just,
That is a straight up.
I'm just wondering, now if they're,
That's okay.
That's part about this.
I think they go under the how.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Like, I think the running paragraph is the why, right?
and they're
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
See how you
because
do
I
it.
even typed, we do this by, and then realized that's
Yeah.
what keyed me in. Okay,
It's okay, I have.
um,
And is this taking,
keep going.
is this taking away those 3 bullet points down at the bottom? Okay,
I think
this is
so, but I
substitution for
haven't
that.
deleted it yet because I'm not sure. I want to make sure we don't win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to put something about. I shouldn't have picked the thing with caramel. And then tried to talk.
This could have been in there a few years.
I cannot.
Stephanie can't share her opinion.
Just gotta get this. It used to me all the time.
Stephanie will come back to us in a few.
M&Ms are good.
Yeah.
You with missing teeth.
Snickers
Right.
is a little dicey.
I like those bullets. I would like to also have something, and this is a work thing, so it's not reducing or eliminating or something barriers to entry. I don't want to use that wording, but I want something like that.
What about fostering an inclusive culture or something like
Well, I
that? I
thought-
keep saying culture. I don't know why I keep going back to that word, but
So you're talking about accessibility.
That's that equity part. I don't even think these need to be bullets. I think it can be a full sentence like our other one. Just gonna start.
I'm fine with that.
And we accomplished the goal by ensuring that it's not that we're, yeah.
Yep, I like that.
Although, what's the distinction there?
We're not the ones who are doing it.
Well, but how
We support,
support? I mean, we don't really ensure that they.
yep, that we support, okay.
Our commitment to equity extends to providing resources and support to address disparities in educational outcomes and to foster an environment where every student has the opportunity to thrive.
There you go, environment, culture.
The AI.
That's in our 2030.
Oh.
That was in our
That's
vision
actually from our
2030.
district.
Kind of mirrored that. And that is what the board does, right?
Yeah.
Providing resources and support.
Yeah. I like it. This one's been in there for a while.
Yeah, I like the ensuring part or support part because it's not what we are doing, but
Right.
what we are supporting. How many times can you say support? But- So if we're
Oh, I
talking
like
about,
that, Angie.
just to throw one other thing out there about, if we're looking at gaps, do we talk about gaps here? Do we take gaps out? Closing gaps? Maybe we don't have that. I was thinking about data, like using data in a way.
you say
That-
evidence-based academic growth.
If we're talking about.
Well, that's the
yeah.
evidence-based
If we're talking
thing.
about equity,
That is
I
the
just put we're
evidence-based.
committed to closing opportunity gaps. If it speaks to equity.
Okay. And I'm just thinking about like what we're using, but your evidence-based there is, that is the evidence. The data is the evidence.
Are you thinking like the MTSS data or just data?
All the data that we utilize. I mean, through the programming that we use, that we had the presentation on, even just, yes, MTSS for sure. How are we measuring, right? That we're closing those gaps. We have to have some time. I know that we utilize those measuring tools, so not just saying like we'd like to see, gaps, but like how are we actually supporting that work?
Where are we right now? Sorry, I kind of got lost in this a little bit.
Still student growth and equity.
Are we in the how or the why?
I think we're in the
Nikki's
how.
in the how.
I'm trying to get the how grammatically correct. I'm working on it. It just tweaks a little because of we accomplished the goal by supporting.
And I mean, technically it would be preparation of students, but it's
Yeah.
kind of weak phrase.
But I think that's where
Do we just want to say in creating future-ready students? Rather than listing all those things? Because that can, that can.
I go back and forth on that because I do like specifically calling out like multiple things so they're not tracked. Or we don't think that they're tracked. Really quiet, but it does make it clunky. And then there's the the piece on the side from Angie about closing opportunity gaps. That I think that might be under.
Again, it might be the
Words
same
put in
thing.
there.
I just am trying to figure out how we want to phrase that last part. Do we want to say in preparation of students, which I'm just not crazy about in order for it to be grammatically correct, or do we want to reword that section?
Can we say, accomplish the goal, supporting the recruitment and retention
Ooh,
of
college, career,
high-quality
and life.
staff
I like that.
who deliver the quality instruction? Because I mean, the teachers are the ones.
So Angie just
Delivering
put, we achieve this by
this by-
recruiting and retaining high-quality staff, delivering excellent instruction and.
That's the one above though, right?
experienced
Yeah.
students. Oh, sorry. For success in, okay.
Yeah, let me,
Yeah, we just want to state it in a way that's clear that we're supporting that versus that we're actually executing, right?
Nikki, is that the how? Where it
Yes.
says we accomplish the goal by supporting the recruitment?
And yes, I do believe you're right, Amber. We can say the recruitment and retention of high-quality staff who deliver
Yeah.
quality instruction.
I liked the college, career, and life. That was in the goal that you, or in the thing that you deleted.
Yeah, hang on a second.
Do we say high-quality instruction? Is quality enough for us? Do we want high quality?
I
I'm fine with that.
We always have high quality instruction.
Yeah, we do. Instead of preparing, do you want to say readying?
We achieve this by recruiting and retaining high
Well,
quality staff.
now that we're tying it all back, we can't say reading but I think we can just say prepare also, because
Okay.
now we're tying it back to the high-quality staff
Gotcha.
who are actually executing that part of it.
All right.
Do we say
So-
create students prepared for college careers?
What did you say about life?
For college, careers, and life.
Oh, there, I see it.
Life success?
Just life.
Just life.
So we have to change the prepare somehow because, so the root of the sentence is, we accomplish the goal by. So then whatever comes there after the and has to complete the we accomplish the goal by portion of the sentence.
Right.
But we were kind of
Yeah.
modifying it to actually focus on the recruitment and retention of the high-quality staff who deliver the
They prepare. Oh.
but we can modify, I mean.
No,
we
no,
can-
no.
Yeah.
It's
Way
okay.
to say high quality.
Just,
Is high quality supposed to be hyphenated?
It is, but
Yes.
we've got it in there twice.
Okay.
one with a hyphen and one with not.
I know, that's why I was like,
It's just, yeah, it's the
Okay.
same thing twice, but I
So
don't know what
High
else.
quality staff and
First
excellent
grade.
instruction, you could,
Superior, excellent, top notch. I like excellent.
clearly I do as well. Good, like, just-
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
Obviously, we can come back and tweak, but I feel like we kind of landed on what we were all talking about. Okay.
Should there be a comma after high quality staff? No. Okay.
Yeah, because who deliver?
Who deliver modifies it.
Okay. When I read that, I want to pause.
I'm an over comma also. I
Okay.
have to take them out a lot.
And then.
I think we could also say, okay, so we have that first sentence.
Under the
stop.
how.
Under the how. And then I think we could also then say, we are committed to closing opportunity gaps that affect student success by that note Angie's got on the side, which brings in that opportunity gap piece that we have lost.
Yes.
Well, the opportunity gaps is now down in how our role.
Well, that's gonna
That's
go
old.
away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
So if we.
You want to move that up
Yeah.
there?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I like that.
Okay. And then we can take out the previous how, our role. I will do that. Thank you for formatting that. Okay. And then we've got that hanger on or annual evaluations of initiatives and impact on equity. I don't know what we do with that if we just take it out. I don't know that we have objectives or goals on this. Maybe that's an objective.
That could be an objective. I mean, it's slightly redundant just because that is the evidence base, right? But so if you want to call that out.
I do think it's worth calling out supporting MTSS data because that's going to continue to expand. And I think that's a really strong, important, critical piece that is happening in the district that we want to say that we support. And that feeds into it feeds directly into academic achievement. So that may be something.
It's also being utilized a lot in the special education audit with that tier 2.
Yeah, I support that. Trent, it might be helpful in thinking about when you guys, I mean, I could probably pull up the last set of goals, how equity plays into those goals and articulating that from an annual evaluation standpoint. Does that make sense? Because I think that we do it in connection with those goals.
Absolutely.
But I can't point exactly to where within those goals.
So I think he's looking that up. Stephanie, when you're looking at MTSS specifically, that's one component. Of course, I'm always like, I don't want to leave things out. So if we're talking about this being like a well-rounded
Yeah.
education and not just academic based, what else do we need to put there as an objective in
So,
order to do that?
well, so the bullet that I put support data-driven decision-making, including, but I agree.
Got it.
I mean, I think we also have, does supporting the panorama survey factor into this or?
Yeah, I might suggest that you don't use phrases like MTSS or panorama to keep it timeless.
Okay.
I don't know. It was
I like that.
RTI just a couple years ago, and now it's MTSS.
Yeah.
And in education, that ebbs and flows at times. So you might just speak to, making data-driven decisions.
I want families to be able to look at our goals and see themselves.
They also
Okay.
need
Makes
to
sense.
understand what we're saying.
Yeah.
too. So I
Right.
think
Yeah.
Right.
like the
A lot of that language may
alphabet
be
soup,
difficult.
yeah.
But I do want to say, but I do want to explicitly say that we are supporting the initiatives that pull in that data. And I'm totally fine with taking MTSS out, like whatever that, I just need another word there because I want, that is so critical. And I think that people don't see it enough and I just want to voice that support. So whatever that language is beyond just data.
And knowing that these objectives can change, right? It's not,
Oh, sure.
this isn't, and then we'll never do something else differently. I just don't want it to limit us, I guess. And concentrating on the things that we are actually executing. I see your wheels turning.
Yeah, when we think about data-driven decision-making, I appreciate what you want to call out the support, but it's really a how we get to a well-rounded education and how we ensure equity. It's not really, it's more of a like you've got these top level things, but the way I can tell you whether we're actually getting to equity is by looking at the data, right? And utilizing that data, like, otherwise it's just a feeling on something. So,
You're measuring those things in order to get to.
I don't, say that again, because I don't think I,
well, I'm just saying, so like you've said, hey, we want to support a well-rounded education and we care deeply about equity. Data-driven decision-making is just a tool that we use to make sure we're doing those two things that you want.
agree. Totally agree. I think that my impulse is to the reason that I think my impulse in using that language, and maybe we get at it a different way, is that it is tangible, right? That we're not just saying here's something we aspire to without we're supporting a plan, we're supporting the initiatives that go, geez, these are word soup, but supporting the work that you're doing that is rooted in like actual provable, tangible things.
Aren't we saying that though in the how? We're saying that this is our why,
We do,
and how we're achieving that why is these things.
yes.
The objectives should be the super specific, right?
Goals
The
are
ones that change every year.
No, those are the goals, at least how we've written it.
But that's under objectives, right? Let me scroll
Yes,
up here.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can change the wording, but the way that we wrote it under the,
Yeah, so we've got the why, the how, the objectives, the goals.
Yeah.
So here we
So,
have the why, the how. the
and
goals.
I don't, we can take data out, that's not super important, but I don't think the how gets to that same thing. And I'm okay with not having that thing, but I don't think they're the same.
Okay.
I think what Trent is saying is that the data is how we prove that we've done it, maybe. Is that what you're saying?
How you develop it.
I think it's how we actually ensure that it happens.
Okay.
I mean, so, yes, I mean, on the back end, the data proves that.
Yeah.
Or tells a story of how,
Yes.
where we got, but it also shows student growth,
Right.
right? So if we were just to look at achievement data, we may have some students that didn't hit the arbitrary mark that was set by the state of Ohio. But
Oh, yeah.
when we look at our data, we can say, well, here's where the students started. Here's the incredible growth they made, and we can feel good about that.
Right.
And then obviously, you know, when we talk about equity, we want to say, are we really providing equitable education to kids? Well, the data is what proves that, right? Or disproves it and says we've got work to do one way or the other. So, I mean, obviously, we appreciate and love your support of it. So I'm not saying you have to take it out of here. I feel like it's a little bit in the weeds.
Okay.
I think it's more of a how we get to these other things that you've articulated as a board that matter to you know, to all of us. But
Okay.
like, this one's really hard because this is the first two: fiscal stability, fiscal responsibility, and then student growth, opportunity, equity. Like this is 98% of what we do as a school district, right? I mean, like this is, so it's hard to articulate here, like I think in a succinct board goal. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah.
And I think you look at it too, like how when we're doing policy, for example, our policy is up here. And then I'm not saying that you don't think that anyways, our policy is up here and then the administrative guidelines. So I'm thinking our goals are here and then district goals. And so I think what Jeff and Angie and Trent and TJ are taking away are what is important to us and what we'd like to see in our district.
Certainly.
And then we may see those details that you're describing in their goals
Yes.
that we're supporting. Does
Yes.
that make sense?
Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it.
Okay.
That's not confusing to me.
Okay.
Data-driven came up a whole bunch of times. So if we don't want to use it, that's totally, totally fine. If we want, I mean, it just has come up like over and over. So let's just, I mean,
No.
I'm
I
totally
don't
fine
dislike
taking
the data part.
okay.
The part that I stopped and questioned, not questioned, but you know what I mean, was that it's specific to MTSS. Like,
Oh, yeah, that's
so-
done. That's,
right.
yeah.
So the data part, I like, but is there a way we can make that into the how? Because you were putting it in the objectives. That's the only thing that I was saying, is that just different position
Yeah, no,
of where
that's
it
fine.
can go.
Well, we have the delivery of excellent instruction there, and so it ties to how they deliver the excellent instruction, and that it's data driven. I don't know. That was just an idea of weaving that component into the how that we have currently articulated.
And that's all just all like evidence-based to me is the data, I guess, no?
Not to me.
Okay.
Data is specific. We're talking about data that's specific to the district. Evidence-based, when I think about it, is like research-based, like what does pedagogical research say?
Gotcha.
Which is also important. just
Absolutely.
different.
Is anyone opposed to saying excellent data-driven instruction? It's a further, is a
I think that's fine. And that, yeah.
modifier that, okay.
Okay. And I don't know that we would have a goal. I mean, we don't have to have a goal for everything, so I don't know that we have a goal for this one.
Other than next time we get together, do we want to look at the district's goals related to, and initiatives related to equity, and ensuring that we're always kind of chipping away at that, right?
Wouldn't removing academic fees, wouldn't that be kind of a sense of like financial equity,
Say that again.
accessibility? Eliminating the fees, the academic fees?
Absolutely, it would be, actually. You're totally right.
I just feel like everything should have metrics. I don't know.
So we could put it in there, other discussed goals, the extracurricular participation fees, because we're talking about the whole student here. And that absolutely would have an impact on the whole student and impact equity.
But we did not have anywhere just school fees. I think that, are you talking about school
Right.
fees?
I was talking about school fees.
We didn't,
You're right.
yeah,
With pay to
both,
play.
yes.
Because the pay to play we had on the previous
Financial.
fiscal
Yeah.
responsibility, but I
Yeah.
think
No.
that would come down to here.
Yeah.
It can be on both of them.
It could be.
And you're right, the
has
kindergarten
something,
fees absolutely it impacts this as well.
But are we want to are we making that a goal, or do we just want to discuss it? The pay to play, sorry. Not the other two that are done.
What did I just do? Sorry, I'm going to undo here.
We haven't discussed it
Yeah, that's
yet.
what- yeah.
I mean, we need to discuss it.
Okay. So maybe our goal is to evaluate? I don't know that we
Is it
want
called
to.
the fee schedule? All
Yeah.
that whole list of fees, is it called the fee schedule?
I think that's how we referred to it. I mean, I've always said extracurricular participation fees. I mean, the only thing left beyond that is like parking.
Cafeteria.
It says that whole list that we approved in June. Or you
Yeah.
put before us to approve it in
Yeah,
June.
that we aggregate them all. I think we call it fee schedule.
And whatever that's called, that would be a catch-all.
Okay. So is our goal to evaluate it as a board? Or what are we saying?
Isn't that what we're doing your first goal? Like doing your fiscal responsibility goal?
Yeah, I think that's what we're saying, that there's overlap, that our fiscal responsibility goals also at times impact equity. And so the kindergarten fees should potentially be under this as well because of the equity component, as well as the extracurricular participation fees.
I just don't think we've actually identified. So I put extracurricular as other discussed goals, but not as a goal. I don't think that anybody has said this is explicitly something we want to talk about. That's why I'm just asking, like, is this or is it not? Or do we want to, that's why I was saying evaluate, right? Like, I'm not sure. I don't think any of us sitting here today could say, this is a great idea, right? Like,
No, it's the evaluation.
Yeah.
It's the absolutely,
Right.
like, what does it look
Right.
like
Yeah.
given our financial goals?
Right,
to
right,
stay
right.
off of, yes, is this the time when we could actually do it? All of that, yes.
And balancing that with the need to make public education as affordable and accessible to all.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then also staying up.
Right, right. The
So,
balance.
yes,
the
all of
balance
the,
is
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
operative word there.
What other academic thing might you add instead of reducing that?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
But I think it's a good idea to evaluate.
Evaluate it.
Let's
That's
make
how
an
I'm-
informed,
yeah.
have an informed conversation.
Comes up
Every year.
over and over with us,
Yep.
this group.
Yep.
So we'll move it into goals, but with the caveat of it's evaluate extracurricular participation fees. Yes? Okay. Okay.
I like that
Said
better.
Anything about accessibility? Was that in the first one? He talks about equity.
I know. I'm so glad I have this sweater right now.
I'm just trying to find the word accessibility, some type of something that acknowledge, and maybe that comes later in 101. I just think that that's maybe something we should
It's
say somewhere.
It's under the Y of fiscal responsibility.
Is it?
Oh,
Yeah, it's keep quality public education accessible.
Thank you. Okay,
No
cool.
problem. Yeah.
As long as we have it somewhere.
Yep.
Okay.
You have goals highlighted there for a reason. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so do we address, Angie's got a comment in here and TJ's got a comment. Do we? Jeff's is about the next one.
Goals being more focused on high quality professional learning for staff and updated curriculum.
These are top goals, so that's fine.
Wait, we took out goals where?
Well, you can back
We're going to take them out. So you have them, that's
So
fine.
your
I was just
comments,
thinking
okay.
about high quality professional learning
Yeah.
for staff and keeping the curriculum updated and relevant.
Yep.
But-
And that's kind of
But you
a,
use kindergarten and,
well, it's kind of low hanging fruit because we're going to approve the new
right,
science of reading curriculum,
Right.
right?
yeah.
Do you think that one of the goals then, is that what you were saying, it should be professional development too? for the
Just
teachers
supporting high quality professional learning for our teachers and staff.
as one of the goals?
That could be,
But it
that could
doesn't-
be an initiative, actually. And then, I mean, if we really wanted to, we could have a goal be to approve the science of reading curriculum because that's going to happen. But then that would be in support of that.
Yeah,
You mean,
Probably
when you
one of
said
the-
initiative, a how? Is that what you mean?
No,
okay,
initiative. We have
initiative.
initiatives. I added initiatives under fiscal responsibility.
Oh, okay.
So those were like the longer term, not long term, but longer term, less like well, it's concrete, but so under fiscal responsibility, I put the objective was supporting. Yeah, that.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I actually would put, what was objective, right? I'm going to put what Angie put under objective,
Did you say you put initiatives?
initiatives.
Okay.
Sorry. You're right. These words only mean something in the
No,
context
it's
of how
okay.
we
No, you're fine. I'm just making, I know that.
No,
we're
you're right. No,
moving.
I'm my brain is. Why am I retyping those? Support.
Were you asking because you don't see initiatives under fiscal responsibility? Because I don't see them either. Okay, very good.
Wait, did I not put? Hold on. Did I get moved?
I don't know, but I was
Objectives. No. Okay. I'm
Okay.
not crazy.
Very good. Objectives.
Objectives.
Okay.
But not initiative.
But not
Because
initiative.
I felt like I was crazy too. I'm
That's
like,
okay.
I said.
When I heard it in the way Kelly asked that question, I was like, I'm not losing my mind.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's the why, how, objectives, goals
Yes.
for each
Yes.
one.
Yes.
We got it. We're getting there. On a Monday.
I think Jeff's done a lot of our work for the next one.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Jeff doesn't want to be here till 9.
Like, I'll
And
just
we
write
appreciate
this up.
that.
That ship is
I motivate everyone for team effort here.
All right, are we moving on to safety?
Yeah, I'm
We
just going
good?
to type this up. Go
Yes,
ahead.
please.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, so I'm not going to read to you, but safety there, very similar to what, Trent was talking about with the safety committee. Now I lost my notes again. How that happened?
I couldn't meet the Amber's wish of having 2 words as the title.
It's all right.
But I do
think
like-
we've already scrapped that. But
I like safe, inclusive environment.
I like safe and
Yeah.
inclusive environment too.
Yeah.
I think we need a comma after safe, maybe.
An ampersand?
Gosh, 2 editors.
If we wanted to have an ampersand, with
We can
this
do
one,
it. Let's
we
do
could
an
say
ampersand.
Safe
I love
and
an
yeah.
ampersand. I love it. It's my favorite.
Oh, I hate them a whole lot.
Oh, you do?
I do.
love
You
hate them?
I love them.
You went on Amber's.
How do you feel about the Oxford comma?
Oh, you have to have an Oxford comma.
Yes, I totally agree on that.
And please do not double space after a period.
Stephanie already told us she didn't have
I'm working on
opinions.
that. That's all I can say. I'm working.
Wow.
That's like, I'm like, I know they're younger. I know.
One.
What'd you say?
Charlie had a strong opinion on the Oxford comma. Yes, he did.
We
I have a
heard
strong
that
opinion.
every meeting.
What-
But are you a yes or no? You're an
AP style journalists are told, unless there are instances where you use it.
Mm-mm.
We're going to stay here till 9.
But AP journalists do not use the Oxford comma.
And it all falls apart.
But
with the
journalists
Oxford
don't use it because
comma.
they're worried about line breaks and they want this as little space as possible. But for clarity,
Okay.
sorry.
All right, so safety, we're talking about, I'm sorry, Jeff, you put something there. Is this the goal, safe, inclusive environment? Our mission is to foster a safe, is that already in there? Okay.
I just pulled it over. I didn't
Okay,
get rid
cool.
of what we had at first, so that we could do a comparison right there together.
Can we, so safe inclusive environment or safe and inclusive schools? Do we use the word schools? I know we're talking about staff sometimes too. That's why I think environment might be the better one, but
I like
to the
environment.
community, I don't know. Do we
I
talk
like
about
environment.
schools? That was, I feel
But it's
like, in
not
one
just
of
the
things.
schools. I mean, it's
No, you're
the,
right.
it's
That's-
the, when we're
it's
playing
bigger.
sports, it's
Person.
everything. Yeah.
And it's your person too, like.
Yep, it's the bus,
From
right,
trips,
all of
yeah,
it.
everything.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. Safe and inclusive culture rather than environment? I don't know. I'm just kind of
Safety,
getting hung
emotional
up on
well-being,
environment. There's something about it I don't.
Ooh, I like that.
Culture?
No, his. I've just. I have been.
Oh, I
typing
thought you
it
were
just
referring
back
to
down
the environment culture.
No, I like your safe and inclusive. We do talk a lot
One of
about
the
culture.
things- So here's where culture keeps coming into my head. So I'm plagiarizing again from this school that I just really thought did a good job. It talks about this board will foster an inclusive culture that sparks community pride. I like that too.
Ooh, I like that.
Emphasizes kindness and respect, and ensures that all students, staff, and visitors, we don't really talk about visitors, but I think that's an important part too, are valued and supported in safe, secure, orderly, and clean, appropriately effective facilities.
That orderly and clean feels so out of place.
But I mean, the visitors even,
I think visitors is something to consider.
Me too.
it is, and it's woven into our what we share every time before visitor comments, right? Like what you say in this environment impacts everyone,
Right.
and there's a standard that we hope everyone will respect. Well, you're going to be healthy.
Well, yeah. I just couldn't tell.
So here,
Can we weave that into Jeff's? So some of the things I like in Jeff, I really like that you added addressing food insecurity.
Mm-hmm,
Out of fairness, that was from your original.
yeah.
Just take credit for it.
No, it's all right.
So I think it's important. The reason I like defining safe and inclusive together, there's many reasons. Safety is a thing that can be a hot button. And it's also something that I know a lot of parents worry about, just like pure safety. All of this stuff is important. But when we think about kids going into school, it gives a lot of people anxiety, right? Especially sending their littles to school. And knowing just what happens sometimes. And so I like that we nod our head to that and also create a definition that includes that physical safety, but then all of these other things. So I like leading with fostering a safe environment and then all of these other things too, because you have to have all those things in order for a student to feel safe enough to learn.
No, I like that. Amber, maybe after this first sentence that is focused on the student, first two sentences, that are focused on the student, we add in a third sentence that captures the fact that, I would feel remiss if we didn't talk about staff for some of this as well, because obviously that's an objective, and then there's that visitor aspect.
Do we want to just say students, families, and visitors?
The only thing that's weird about that, I started to do that, and then not everything that we described there.
That's right.
were
Overall needs.
Overall needs.
Welcome to our district. Let me take care of you.
That fiscal responsibility, that first goal, kind of negates the overall needs as
Is this where you break it down and talk about the student piece of it first and all of those, the emotional well-being, overall needs, and the examples. And then you also talk about an environment that includes staff, separate those two.
What if instead of saying environment twice?
I thought we were moving to culture. Did we not move to culture?
I'm just
Oh.
typing random thoughts
I don't know.
in the column.
I would be fine with moving to culture. I don't have a problem with that. I think both of them are very broad umbrellas, and that's what we need.
I was thinking if you say culture first and then when you're coming into our school environment,
Yeah, I like that.
Or
for
just say
staff coming
schools.
into our
Can we
school
just
environment.
say we strive to create safe schools.
I would still say
But then we
environment.
both- Yeah, well, then we say both of them. Okay.
because the reach is beyond our buildings.
I like that that sentence. I do believe it captures, but because of the EG doesn't limit, right? Including not limited to, essentially. And then can we have a second sentence that talks more on what you were speaking to regarding Amber?
Community pride,
Yeah, and
emphasizing kindness, respect, visitors are valued and supported.
I wonder if the community pride part we can do that when we get to the community engagement piece.
Yeah, I think that's certainly part of it. The building partnerships, I think, instead of engagement. But I think it's part of also.
no, I like that. I feel it more naturally in that than the other,
In the
engage-
building partnerships,
the
the
partnership
community
part.
pride.
Yeah. So then what does that leave us with, what you were speaking to? Because there was also like,
Visitors.
Visitors are valued
yeah,
and supported. Something about visitors, because we say student, staff.
we don't have staff
We
here
don't
yet.
have staff yet.
Yeah, we've got to weave in
gotta-
staff
that's
and
true.
visitors.
Yeah, because that first sentence is just about students.
So can we, for students?
Can you
Can I talk about emotional? Go ahead.
Can we find a way to pull those the two sentences that we have together? That might mean we take a few things out, and then also have a sentence for staff and visitors.
Yes.
For individuals that we welcome into our school environment.
Okay, I'm gonna take here. What if we say
That could be a
addressing their physical safety, emotional well-being?
guest. I like
Emotional
guest.
is emotional well-being and mental health enough? Is it analogous enough that it can be one? Okay, physical safety, mental health, addressing food insecurity and promoting inclusivity, so that each student can thrive. Because we talked about whole child in the previous. Does that work? Okay. Mental health needs. Addressing. Where's my need that back?
Do or do not like needs.
Okay,
Yep.
mental health is fine.
We all have mental health.
Mm-hmm.
We all have. Like it or not.
Okay.
So if you're putting all that in that second sentence, can the first sentence just be, we strive to create a safe environment, both emotionally and physically?
I think we're gonna delete that one. I think that whole thing is coming out, right? Wasn't that the
Because that's
original?
where,
Next to the wall.
okay.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah, that's all.
we could put student, staff, and visitors
Yes.
all in that first sentence.
So would we say then just we strive to foster a safe, supportive, and equitable environment for all students, addressing their physical safety, mental health, addressing food insecurity, and promoting da-da-da-da-da?
So the first sentence was from the original one, and then I think you somebody pasted this whole thing in just so we didn't lose anything. So I think we were going to take that.
Take all that stuff out of there.
Yeah.
I do think you could take
But-
that first sentence that is going to be deleted and make it the staff and guests.
Just very brief, student, staff, safe
We try to create a safe environment.
environment for student, staff,
But
visitors.
then we're saying it twice, right?
See, where do we ever have staff and visitors?
No. The safe environment is twice. We don't have staff and visitors. We need it.
You could just say
Oh.
school environment and not say safe there again. I'm just thinking of a wording that we could add staff and guests to.
Yeah, I thought that was going to come after.
You're good,
So
you're
I'm
good.
saying take that
No, you're fine.
and make it after.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
So we would say,
No, we're still going to start with the board is committed.
okay.
If we didn't want to say safe again, we could say secure. Since we have safe in the title.
What are you doing? So we're going to keep that second paragraph intact,
I'm just okay,
and then
there we go.
we're going to put something after.
Oh, after it, not before. Okay, so then,
So the Y starts with the board is committed to.
okay.
That was my understanding. Yeah. Yes. Now I see exactly what you're saying.
So I move this.
But then I was typing.
Were you typing in the first sentence I just made? Sorry.
This is okay, this is what happened.
Why is that
circus.
sentence there if we're not going to stay with that sentence?
But it's actually, I think we're okay, because it's
You're
just, we
duplicating.
strive to create
Okay.
a safe environment for,
All staff and visitors.
For all. Can we just say all? Or do we want to spell it out?
I really liked that we called out visitors. Like
I think
Yeah.
spell
Guests.
all out.
Guests.
I do like that.
Okay.
It just sounds.
That sounds, I don't know if that sounds like a hospitality thing. I don't know.
Like we have guest teacher.
When I worked at COSI, we called visitors, and then if you ever heard on the radio that there was a guest somewhere, it was because there was a mouse.
oh, nice. Little guess.
Because when you go to the office, you know, you get a visitor's badge, I don't know.
Either one is fine with me.
board is coming into question.
We are in the service business.
I've heard that before. I'm just kidding.
Can I say safe and welcoming? Is that okay?
Uh-huh.
I like
Yeah, like welcome.
Yes, they needed something there.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a how?
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, did you include a how?
Here, I'll copy it.
Did you include a how?
You did.
I did.
I'm posting it or pasting it right now.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right.
That works.
Safe.
Good.
Okay, I'm gonna delete the one above it.
Okay.
Great. And I'm going to say as a board, because just for consistency's sake.
Yep. So we do not have to have a goal or objective for everything. Is there anything that we want to put here?
Become members of our safety committee. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Participate in a safety committee.
Kick off the newly
Safety.
formed.
Yeah.
Committee
Yeah.
that will give the board, I don't know, quarterly updates or semi-annual updates or whatever. Your meeting cadence.
Say weekly. Angie, that is not nice.
Everything else
You're not a part of the
is.
Okay, I'm gonna say that it's a super.
Superintendent, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's helpful.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I think we should say collaborate with or not establish, because we're not establishing the superintendent committee.
Correct.
Yes.
We supported the established, we voted on it. I don't know. That's fine, collaborate with, it's established. The newly
So
formed.
that, yeah,
don't know.
that's kind of a how. That's not really a goal, which, and like I said, we don't have to have them. So I don't,
I think your goal is something like constantly evaluating and monitoring. So I think your role, well, somewhat effectiveness, but also maybe like how the community feels about our school safety.
Mhm.
Yeah, I always tell people like the boards elected by the community, they represent the community. So really it's somehow trying to have a pulse on, like, here's what the district's doing and we're giving you feedback on here's how the community feels. Like we're constantly giving that attention to the school district on like, I don't know.
No, I like that. I mean, that could be part of the provide community feedback during superintendent safety committee or something along those lines. I mean, that is a distinct means by which that feedback, a point in time in which that feedback should be provided. Obviously, it doesn't have to wait until then, but that's a time for all of us to be thinking as we see that meeting coming up, like, is there anything that we've heard? Is there anything that we want to make sure is bubbled up? And maybe one of us heard it, but we don't know that everyone heard it. And, you know, we need to make sure that if it's bigger than one comment, that we're aware of that sort of thing. So, but again, that's not a goal. That's a how. That's a, yeah.
well, and yeah, we don't have to have, we could have a goal next year
Right.
that came out of the formation of having this committee, right? Like we
Absolutely.
haven't had a lot of line of sight into it, but that's not a criticism, just this
Yeah.
is new, so.
I'm good with that.
No, I like that.
Okay.
We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. So next is advocacy. Oh,
Sorry.
it's okay. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, so this is where I think advocacy
What'd
and
you do?
legislation and policy
I just moved it up a couple spaces, that's all.
can live in harmony. I feel like it's one bucket, it's not two.
I agree. The only reason I would question that, and I think this is why we separated it. And again, I don't know that that distinction is important. When we met last time, we talked about wanting, like, our policy being what comes to us, or I mean, it's not all cascaded down to us. We can adopt our own policies, but the advocacy and legislation piece was rooted in some of us wanting to advocate for public education separate from the policies that we
Proactively.
like so one of the things that has come up in conversations with other school board members, like, are you in constant contact or are you in regular contact with your so Dr. Liston or Dr. Samani, or like, are you advocating for your school district that way? Do they know it? That kind of stuff? That's what I see as advocacy and legislation, which is separate from how we establish policy that is wholly within our district's control.
So I wonder if policy is one of our roles, it's one of our responsibilities, right?
Keith,
It's not necessarily a goal in that it's what we're supposed to do, right? And so I am going somewhere with this, I'm sorry. With that advocacy and legislative piece, and that somehow you tie in policy somewhere there in that, with that, and then we develop policy based on, I don't know, or if it falls there or somewhere else, I don't know.
Advocacy and compliance. So it's part of the legislation. We've got to be compliant. That's kind of what we're talking about with state law, right? But it's also like the advocacy implies that we are kind of in control of our own destiny too. So it's twofold, and it also encompasses legislation, policy, advocacy, compliance.
And I will say part of that all that overlaps is when we're talking about policy, while it is something we just do, we do it in a manner, we attempt to do it in a manner that still protects our students.
Correct.
Right? That's in
Correct.
the best interest of our students.
Yes.
So we want to be compliant and also protecting our district and our students.
Right. And I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
the advocacy piece with the policy.
Let me give you a concrete example. Let's rewind 2 years when there was not a mandated RTRI policy. What if we had as a board, like, let's just say that we were, that law didn't exist, and we hadn't rescinded it already. What if we as a board had said at this table, I'm really concerned about this policy that we have and I want to rescind it. Let's work on that this year. That would be a goal, that is a policy goal that wouldn't really at that time have been a legislation or an advocacy or legislation piece. I'm just saying
No,
that
I hear
if that
you.
happened.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, and when we formed the policy committee as a board committee, we had to change policy to do that. I mean, we had to make that part of the policy. So there are times when we have to make policy changes in order to meet goals, which was to have a full board policy committee at that point. So it may just be something that doesn't often have goals associated with it, but there are times when it's needed.
Because I think we started this thing as like trying to say like, okay, what are the things that we as a board do? Policy being one of those.
And what about our policy development is our goal?
We don't have to have a goal every year, I think. That's what, right? So, but I think everything that we've said about, like, we strive to make policy that supports our students, that, that sort of piece. I really like the compliance piece, though, that you added in, because I think it can be a both and.
I think I got stuck on the word goal, and I got to go back to priority of what the title is. Okay, so go
Yeah, I
ahead.
think policy too, to me, doesn't strike me as a goal as much as it lives within every one of these buckets, right? We have fiscal responsibility and we have policy that backs that up. And we have the student, whatever it is, success, accomplishment. And there's policy that enables that to happen. So I feel like policy lives throughout this document without being its own standalone thing.
Hey, real quick, so it appears as if you clicked off of the comments where I wrote up that safety piece, it didn't really click off of that. Because when you hit the check mark, then it changes all of the words back to what I wrote. So if that whoever did that. if
It
you-
changes, oh, in the running text, it changes it back?
You can't hit the check mark.
If you click the check mark, it means you accept what's in the comments into the body of the document.
I'm
I haven't clicked anything.
I didn't click the check mark.
I didn't click a check mark.
All right, let's go back to version history. Keep going,
okay.
I'll go back.
Watch me say that, and then it's like, I never clicked the check mark.
I don't remember doing it if I did it. I'm trying just to stay off.
So, if we take policy out of being a header of a priority, it still needs to be very much highlighted here because
Yeah.
huge responsibility.
So may I make a recommendation for tonight that we leave it without a goal? And we say policy and compliance?
Policy and compliance or advocacy and compliance?
Oh, no, then it would be within, yeah.
I like advocacy because I think that's a big part of what we do, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I really, really feel strongly about keeping that word, but I also think that because, and this is again from the community perspective, right? Like we want to also have compliance paired with that word, I think, to show that we're mindful.
I'm
Yeah,
comfortable with
advocacy.
that, with, as long as we, absolutely, as long as we use the word policy and the why. So it's clear that we are,
Yeah.
we utilize our,
We develop policy.
we develop
that
policy to
is
ensure compliance with,
Right.
yes, yes.
I'm scared to type anything.
I know, I want to wait until we get this corrected
Hold
before I
on,
do
I'm gonna-
anything.
So I think I went into version history and I can see all of our changes as they should be,
I'm gonna run
or as
to the
they
restroom.
originally were, so I'm wondering.
You know what? I think I
I think you guys can go
this is
ahead
a
and
good
change
time
what
to-
you're working on. I will try to copy our good
Cool.
that we've worked on so far.
Perfect.
Put it again at the bottom, because then I don't wanna create a new doc
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
But let me see what happens when I try to copy and paste with all, so it looks like track changes, so let me see what I can.
Okay. I think we can pause for a hot second and get that in the right place, because we're probably like truncating this into, or combining into one. The last two into one.
It's not the last two, because you got community.
Oh, shoot.
Sorry.
That's okay. Jeff's working on it.
That one's actually kind of, that is big and fine.
I'm not either,
All right. I got this.
but I am going to refill my water.
Difference of like 30 degrees. Did we figure it out?
Yeah, I found it all.
Yeah.
Now I'm just gonna pull it back, and so you guys can work on the.
Okay, so advocacy and compliance. The board believes it's important to advocate for public education to ensure we're fully funded and maintain local control. Let's see.
I don't know if I want to use the words fully funded. Two different back. That's,
Well, and the maintain local control
We'll never be
is-
fully funded, but
yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah,
so
and we don't have control over that.
So when I was thinking about advocacy, the OSBA talks a lot about, talk with your representatives, and that's totally true. Unfortunately for us, our representatives don't have a lot of power.
Right.
Where I do think the board has massive advocacy is locally. So the relationships with City of Columbus, City of Worthington, sometimes Perry Township. And it's especially important like when you go on the ballot and you're trying to get support from other organizations. Sometimes they're resistant. Like, we don't think we should make a statement. We don't think we should, like all those, like our local advocacy becomes really important. Your relationships, like that's a lot of impact.
Well, just like what you sent us earlier, about talking to Columbus City Council,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think you guys can have faith in it.
I don't know if you typed this down here, if this was part of our previous, but I'm gonna pull this up here first to consider. We're just saying the board, right? Not the Worthington School Board, the board.
The only ones we made changes on were fiscal responsibility, student growth and equity, and safe and inclusive culture, correct?
Yes, yeah, we hadn't gotten further than that. I'm tinkering around right now with advocacy and compliance.
because it's not just legislative advocacy, it's. But what?
And I don't want to say actively
So the
engaged,
policy-
that makes it sound like we're looking for fights. Well,
Pieces I'm combining, like some wording is shaping
don't,
policy that champions strong leadership and student achievement. Just adding a policy piece to that, advocacy and compliance.
Oh, there you go. Angie's typing away.
Angie's not
Nice.
typing.
It was Amber.
I was like, are you?
I know, you're amazing. That was great.
It's like when you have
you
like
think
one
it
letter in a
and then
text
say
and the
Angie.
bubble's there for an hour.
Oh, that's weird.
Angie, stay informed about pending legislation. That's what you're typing?
Yeah. Well, no, wait. No, I didn't see it.
No.
I just
Angie's
said-
on the side.
comments,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, Amber was
And
working on the first.
and
yes.
doing probably
I think there's a
similar
lull,
wording.
too, between
Yeah, there
these.
is.
Like, yeah.
That's what the highlighting is.
It's when a comment.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to unhighlight it.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, we're back.
Sometimes a little safer.
I Google Docs.
Okay, wait, so Amber's typing? for-
I'm not typing anything right now. I
Okay.
just, I copy and pasted some of the verbiage that was under advocacy and pulled it up, and I changed, I don't know what language we had, but I changed it to thoughtfully engage rather than, I think it was actively advocate or something like that. I thought that was a little too strong.
Stay informed. I mean, Angie's comments on the side, stay informed about pending legislation. And then the
stay informed,
opportunities to advocate, state and local.
Yeah, I just changed that where it says staying on top of, and just put stay informed about.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think it's almost
TJ, did you put the
here.
ensure we are fully funded? Or is that already in there? 'Cause
I was
like-
already in there.
Good for us. I don't even, well,
maybe the part about meeting with policymakers, issuing timely statements, maybe that's the how rather than the why.
I think that makes sense, absolutely.
Okay, do you want me to move it? I don't want to duplicate.
Go for it.
All right. So we'll thoughtfully engage in, like Trent said, it's bigger than just legislative. In advocacy, when our community demands it.
You want to say
requires
something
it.
about relationship, like to Trent's point, like we've got to have those relationships with local. That's more than just advocating. It's like,
But again, that's the how. And so does that second sentence,
Yeah,
actually what we have there, capture the why? And we can expand on the maintain local control if we want to, but that's where it really comes in. That's where our community's values come into play. So our community values, an inclusive environment, which is not always aligned with legislation. So,
Keep in mind too, when we're talking about stakeholders and relationships, we also have on down the community partnerships built, whatever that one is. So we gotta kind of be mindful that that's coming and not, unless we want to roll it all into one. I don't know. I mean,
does advocacy also imply like making sure that when decisions are made in Columbus or decisions are made in Worthington, that the schools are being considered? Like it's not just you know what I mean?
Yes.
I do believe so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, City of Columbus.
Oh,
Hey,
don't
stop.
okay.
We're also in Franklin County. Absolutely. Yes.
So I think we probably need to, that I think is part of the why.
Yeah, that's true.
okay, so how about the board
So-
will-
Making
Thank you.
ourselves
You wanna get in
relevant.
No, I was just gonna say, Amber, I think that the board believes this is important, is where the why starts. The how is the thoughtfully engage in advocacy when our community necessitates it, protecting public education. Like,
So this is the how you think?
it's part of the how, yes.
So the why is, we have a strong, I'm just saying, don't, you don't type this, but I'm just word vomiting. We have as a board, we have a strong rooted belief in the value of public education. And so that's part of the advocacy piece. Another piece is what we were just talking about, where we want to make sure that when local decisions are made, that those decisions are made with our students and our schools in mind, students, their families, and our schools in mind. To ensure a positive outcome for our school community. And that we represent our we represent our voters.
Protect and preserve local, or are you gonna say local control there?
I don't know what I was gonna say. I deleted it because it sounded too police talk. Protect and preserve. But I was trying to say something about because I think along Stephanie, I like what you're saying about, we all hold the strong belief that public education is critical, but also our community has elected us for these seats to protect this institution, this district. So I think protect, elected, I think some of the words like that could be used here too. And that's why we're advocates, right?
Yeah.
We've been chosen to be.
We've been elected to represent our community, and then in so doing, we need to
Their
represent our schools and our community in those other spaces.
Yeah, their interests and their values.
Outside, yeah, right. Here and outside the district.
This needs to be wordsmith, but,
Well, you could say, protect the interests of public education, both at the board table and beyond, or something, I don't know. I feel like my brain's getting tired.
-2.
Because I'm just staring at this, like, I know what I want to say.
Not coming out.
Well, I'm going to interject here to say that Trent gave us a May 1st deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And so if
Do we
you
have
all
any
feel
more
like, say it
Work
again.
session- Do we have more work sessions?
We don't, but we can schedule one.
I think that,
Yeah. If we scheduled one, would it be like, because we have to notice it, and we have to, can we
Correct.
say, is it enough to say that we're going to discuss board goals? Is that enough of an agenda?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so we should do that.
yeah,
Okay.
I might suggest that.
Okay.
that-
Because
Yeah,
we've made it over
We were-
halfway.
I do,
exactly.
yeah.
Got, you know.
We were on fire at the
good start. I
beginning.
know.
It's gone.
Caffeine is just gone.
But this was much better than last time when I feel like we were all just kind of floundering. Like, I don't even know where
No,
to
we've,
start. Like,
we've
what
got
are
a
we doing?
really good
Yeah,
cadence
start.
here
Yeah.
and
This
form
stuff takes
and,
time.
yeah.
It does.
It just
I felt
does.
us fading.
Yeah.
I know I'm fading.
yes.
And we want to do this well.
It's been 2.5 hours.
We want it to be high quality.
Hyphenated, high quality.
Data driven, if you will.
Okay.
Okay.
So we can, I can't even think of what the next thing is. So Nikki, this document is yours. You're the owner of this document,
Okay.
right?
Yes, I am the owner of this
Okay.
document.
So if you wouldn't mind just emailing it out to us.
Mhm.
And then when we come back together, we can obviously work on it individually and then come back together and continue working on it collectively
Mhm.
at a next board work session. We can, it may be for the February 24th meeting, if you could come with dates
Yeah.
that work.
Mhm.
That's not a Friday.
Okay.
Then we can schedule a date and then be well within the range of keeping in mind that we only have one March board meeting. And so maybe we can even do something in March. So, and then making that May 1st time that Dr. Bowers gave us. Is that helpful?
Absolutely.
This has been great. All right, so we're going to take a pause. Nikki is going to email this draft out to us.
Nikki is doing so right now.
Thank you. We will schedule our special, so it'll be a special meeting, so we will specify the agenda item, which would be working on the goals at our February 24th meeting.
Okay.
Okay? That sound good, TJ?
Great.
Okay. I lost my agenda. Hold on a second.
Calendar.
So next on our agenda is calendar. So again, our next meeting is Monday, February 24th. We'll have a presentation on the science of reading update and curriculum adoption. And Dr. Bowers will talk about the responsible staffing plan. Our March 2nd meeting is our only meeting in March. Also at 6:30 here at the WEC, where we will get a master's facilities plan phase 2 construction update. And then mid-April, April 14th, Monday, 6:30 here at the WEC, we will have a portrait into practice, I love that term, update from Angie and her staff. Is there any questions about that calendar? Okay, may I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
TJ, will you please call for the vote?
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Mrs. Hudson?
Yes.
Mrs. Best?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Epling Skinner?